Hi all, it's Trevor Gallagher here, and I'm putting together another video for my drum channel, focusing on mainly 40s, 50s, 60s style blues drumming, jump blues, swings and shuffle type music. And today I thought I'd talk a little bit about, because I was actually asked this question a little while ago, what bass drum beater do I use and why do I use it? Well, as you know, I'm an old school style drummer. I've been playing drums since the late 60s or mid 60s, and ever since from about the I suppose early 1970s, I have actually been using a Denmar felt beater, which I'll show you soon. I've got a little bass drum set up in front of me here, and well, actually I've got my main kit behind me. That has a Denmar felt beater as well, but easier to show you this one. But that said, before we get to that, there are numerous types of bass drum beaters you can get. You can get some that are just made from plastic, made from wood. Some have a little felt bit on the end, and you know, many types in between. Depending on the style of music you want to play will determine the type of beater you want. Now, if I was playing lots of rock music, I'd probably use a wood beater. It's really loud and aggressive, got lots of attack. However, because I play the styles that I play, you know, 50s styles, jump blues and swing, and because I have training, big band jazz training, my original drum teacher when I was 6 years old was a big band jazz drummer, and he taught me to play with my bass drum technique, more keeping the heel on the ground and hitting, and as soon as I make contact with the head, to come straight off, as opposed to using lifting my heel off and kicking into the drum and burying the beater into the actual bass drum. If I was playing a lot of rock, I'd probably do that. But the styles of music I play, it really sounds much better if I hit the drum head and bring the bass beater straight off. And all my drums actually are tuned to have a full tonal sort of range. Some people call that a ring in my tom-toms and my bass drums. This bass drum I've got in front of me here, it's a little bass drum. It's 18 inch by 12, but it still sounds big and woof, you know. And I tune my drums that way for a reason. It gives me maximum tone, and also it gives me maximum dynamics if I've got good control on my foot. So I can hit really softly, or I can hit really hard. But every time I'm bringing the bass beater off the head. Because if I hit my bass drum and bury the beater, I actually choke the full the full tone of my bass drum. So, you know, if I hit and come off, the whole drum's got this big, full resonant tone to it. And that's the sound I like. And a lot of the early blues drummers, and, you know, jump blues and shuffle drummers, you know, Fred Bello, for instance, from Chicago, you know, he had a jazz background, and I'm pretty sure he was a heel down bass drum player, and I'm pretty sure just by the sound of his bass drum, he was probably doing this, hitting and coming straight off, hitting and coming straight off. So that's, you know, if you are a heel off person, you may want to try and drop your heel and do a little bit of practice with your heel down. My original drum teacher told me many years ago, in regards to all aspects to playing, he gave me a lot of lectures on body mechanics, and that is one of the things I remember from way back then, 40, 50 years ago, was that I remember him telling me, the smaller the joint you move, the more speed and more control you'll have, and the quicker you will develop the technique. So when it comes to playing with my foot on my bass drum, if my heel's on the ground, I'm actually using my ankle. If I bring my foot off the ground, I'm using my knee or hip to make the movement. So I can actually attain much more control by keeping my heel on the ground and actually using my ankle to make all the movement. Now, some people might say, well, if you got your heel on the ground, you're not going to get any volume. That's not true. I've been in numerous bands that were really loud bands, and I'd play acoustically and I'd be really, really loud. So it's not really, more volume doesn't necessarily translate to having to literally kick your bass drum. You know, it's all more about technique. And as I said, you know, by having my heel on the ground and being able to hit my drum, my bass drum, and bring the beater straight off, I have lots of control over the tone, and I can play really soft and really loud and get all these different volume changes to add to the dynamics of my playing. So my personal taste is to keep my heel on the ground, even though I can play heel off, but majority, 99.9% of the time when I play, my heel's sitting on the ground. And so anyway, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. So beaters, you know, a lot of the early guys, they use big fluffy woolen type beaters. And what that gave, and especially the way a lot of the early guys tuned, it gave a really nice, feathery, fluffy sort of round tone to their bass drums. And that's one of the reasons, it's because of that fluffy beater. You may have seen some bass drum beaters from the past, you can still buy them, that'll literally look like a big Ugg boot. A big round fluffy woolly ball sitting on the bass drum. They sound really nice, really soft and round and beautiful tone. More, you know, if I want to use a food analogy, they have a real smooth honey caramel tone to it. Me personally, as I said, I use a Danmar. I'll just get this kick pedal off. I use a Danmar pedal, which is felt, but it's quite hard. They're made in USA, Danmar, and it's quite a hard felt. So I get really the best of both worlds. I get a bit more volume because it's a bit harder, but because it's felt, I'm still getting that nice vintage, soft sort of tone to what I'm playing. So something to keep in mind. Have a look at the beaters you're using if you're playing the styles of music that I play, you know, 50s, 60s, shuffles, blues, jump blues, swings and all that, and you're using a heavy coarse beater, buy yourself a felt one, or buy yourself even a woolen one, and have a play on that and see if you like it. Also, the tuning has a lot to do with it. I have talked a little bit about tuning. I think in a previous video I talked a little bit about tom-tom tuning, making the bottom head lower than the top to give you that projection when you're playing acoustically. Also, bass drums are the same. I always tune my front head, my resonant head on my bass drum, lower than my beater side. And I don't use any dampening except for a little bit of felt. And once again, very old school. I don't like dampening any of my drums because to me, dampening your drum, you're losing some of the tone of the drum. And you're also losing the full volume range of the drum when you dampen. So I don't see the point in that. If you're a player that likes to play with dynamics, the less dampening you got anywhere on your kit, the more volume you're going to have. You know, so it's something to think about anyway. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell so you get notified every time I put up a new video. Also, if you've got some drummer friends that you think might like this information I keep sharing on this, then please tell them about my channel. On that note, happy drumming, guys. See you around. Bye.